at the 6 fallback. Garry, you're a big fan. You'll just wait for the call on me.
Yeah, I was going to
put this on it. Yeah, that'd be fine. There'll just be some
Hello, welcome to PEEP Live, episode number 6. Coming here to you live, obviously, from the centre of Newcastle. This is our 6th live streaming show. PEEP Magazine, the home of mixed martial arts, boxing, professional boxing, kickboxing, K1, all your combat needs. We also have a section, of course, the much loved PEEP EXCESS, which talks a little bit about everything from art to streetwear, to lifestyle, to film, to books, and everything else in between. We are here, as I said before, at the centre, coming to you live from the centre of Newcastle with Mr. Cliff Sainsbury, my partner in crime. Everything is here that you remember well. Remember, this is our first show of 2018, number 6 in total, but our first show of 2018. So what we decided to do is each show at the start of the year is just kind of a reflection, in a sense, of the shows previous, which are actually up there for you guys to watch, episodes 1 to 5. We had some special guests in the past. We have Steve Ibbotson, European and soon-to-be world kickboxing K1 champion. We had Mickey Terrell, who's obviously a world Thai boxing champion and a current bare knuckle boxing champion. We had Chris Reed, who's a martial artist, soul surfer, fantastic guy, many talents that he came and talked to us about on the show. And of course, Mr. David Wield, in my opinion, one of the best promoters working today. And we actually have another fantastic promoter on later as our special guest, but I'll not give that away. As I've just said, we have a special guest on tonight as well. So good to have you back. All your favorites will be here. You can see I'm wearing show black. We'll be having an exploding chair for our guest, a potential exploding chair. Just so our special guest is aware, because he's sitting in the back of the studio right now, we have 4 chairs that we have for guests. One of them is faulty and it actually breaks apart as you sit on it. And we don't actually know which chair we've picked. It's a random, so you'll have to look at that in a second. So stay tuned for that. It's luck of the draw. That's what we like to say. It's luck of the draw. You never know if you're going to get the Ace of Spades or the Queen of Hearts. It could work either way. Barter Books, we'll certainly be talking about that. Also, we have a connection with Ridley Scott, the famous director Ridley Scott. He has commented a few times on the shows we've been running, and there is a link tonight with Ridley Scott. We're going to talk a little bit about HR Geiger on PEEP EXCESS, so we hope you're going to enjoy the show. We nearly didn't have a show tonight. We had a few technical hitches, but obviously we managed to overcome those, and we're ready to go. So, first part of business is going to be combat news. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the current news in combat. As I said to you before, this is what we call PEEP Intro. It's our first show back on after a little break. So we're going to talk a little bit about past shows, It's going to potentially be a shorter show today. We've had shows that have been nearly 2.5 hours in length. I think the one we didn't have a guest, our first show, was nearly 2.5 hours. We had Chris Reed on. That was a good 2-hour show. Today's going to be a little bit shorter, so make the most of it as we come to you live. You're very free to comment. We're going to actually have a call in tonight as well, see how that goes. Please subscribe to us at PEEP Magazine. Subscribe, like, and share our posts. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, and we are on Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter at PEEP Magazine, on Instagram at peep.ltd. YouTube, you're clearly watching us now if you're picking this up, so please subscribe and follow us on YouTube, and like if you can. So let's get started. So combat news, we're going to talk a little bit about professional boxing. And when I say a little bit, I do literally mean a small part, just one bit on professional boxing, one part on professional boxing. The upcoming Anthony Joshua versus Joseph Parker fight, which will be for obviously various heavyweight world titles. Anthony Joshua is currently holding the IBF, the WBA, and the IBO heavyweight titles. He has a 20-0 record with 20 KOs. Obviously boxing out of the UK. A fantastic world champion, in my opinion. I've always liked Anthony Joshua as a person from day one, really, from watching his earlier interviews. However, clearly is a very talented boxer, professional boxer. However, I wasn't fully sold on him being a legitimate world-class professional heavyweight until his defeat of Vladimir Klitschko. I'm a big Vladimir Klitschko fan. But I just felt that, basically, as soon as we get a good, strong UK heavyweight who's coming out there knocking guys out, everybody jumps on the bandwagon, and speaking personally, I want to see them, compete and potentially defeat a long-standing, recognised, reputable champ. And clearly Joshua did that against Klitschko. So, he is the real deal. Potentially could be one of our best heavyweights ever. I think that could clearly be on the cards. And as I said, he holds the IBF, the WBA, and the IBO belts, of which two, the most reputable, the IBF and the WBA. IBO, less so, but it has been held by a number of recognised world champions, Lennox Lewis being one of them, I believe. And he will be fighting Joseph Parker. Now, it's interesting. We're talking about, Peep Reflect. We're going to... How's that, Chris? I'm saying Chris. Cliff. Yes. Peep Reflect. As we go back and look at other shows, we need to get a logo for that as well, don't we? A graphic for that too. We just come up with names tonight. Chris Reed, who was a guest we had on, I think 2 shows ago, spoke a little bit about Joseph Parker and also mentioned how he'd like to see Anthony Joshua take on Joseph Parker in a heavyweight unification match. Now, these things don't come together that easily, as our guest will no doubt talk about. It'll be interesting to ask him about, what he believes, the difficulties are to bring together 2 heavyweights from a promoter's point of view. That'd be interesting to see what he says about that. But the deal has been done. The fight is announced, I believe, because I am getting my information from the internet, and the internet can be wrong sometimes or often. March the 31st at the Cardiff Principality. How do you pronounce that? The Cardiff Principality. I'm not saying that right, am I? Cardiff Principality Stadium. Anyone want to jump in there? Put a comment out if I'm pronounced that wrong. So it's announced for then. Joseph Parker is undefeated as well. He's 25 wins, no losses with 18 KOs. I believe in his latest fight, he fought against Hughie Fury and beat him on points. I think that was a controversial decision, although I didn't watch that fight. And he holds the WBO world title, which is one of the 4, I believe, and I think we can kind of uniformly say, the most respected belts in boxing. I haven't watched Joseph Parker fight. I haven't managed to watch any footage on him. I've just read a little bit about him on one of the pay-per-views, The Independent. He's coming to take advantage of Joshua's supposed glass chin, which is interesting considering that Joshua took a hell of a shot from one of the hardest punchers in boxing at the time, Vladimir Klitschko. Mr. Sainsbury, would you have Vladimir Klitschko in perhaps the 10 hardest punchers of all time?
One half, yes.
Perhaps top 10, certainly top 15 for me.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm not talking pound for pound. I'm coming straight up because, you know...
Not as big as any Shavers, but...
No. I would have Shavers probably number one, I think. You know, I think there's an interesting topic for a future show. Let's talk about, because it's always fun, talk about the hardest punches in boxing. And even pound for pound would be quite fun as well, actually. I think Shavers would be up there, independent of pound per pound. You know, Klitschko, Tyson, obviously. Who else would you have? Jackson, what's his first name? Oh, he's blind in one eye, from Jamaica. Can't believe I've forgotten his name. He knocked out Harold Graham. Harold Graham was outboxing him. He just threw one punch. And anyway, so that'll be an interesting topic for the future. So this is a great fight. It's a heavyweight unification matchup, which is always interesting and always fetid. What's going to happen? I mean, Joshua holds an undefeated record, a completely clean record with 20 KOs. Can he make Joseph Parker, you know, his latest victim? What's Joseph Parker bringing to the table? Well, he has fought, you know, legitimate fighters. He's holding a legitimate belt, and he's certainly confident as well. So what is he going to look to exploit? Which fight is he? I mean, perhaps he's looking at the fight when Joshua fought... I'm throwing names around here, but, you know, Joshua's been, you know, wobbled a couple of times. I think his second recent performance, you know, one or two times there, he was looking a little bit, not want to say wobbly, but perhaps a little bit troubled. So I think Parker's going to look and take confidence from that. So it'll be interesting to see what you guys have to say. My prediction would be an Anthony Joshua win. As I say, I'm sold on Joshua. I think he is genuinely the real deal. I think he's bringing everything to the table. I think he's a fantastic person and a tremendous cliche ambassador for the sport, but it's true. He's very humble, but what I really take from Joshua, he's very honest as well. He speaks truth, and I really appreciate that. So a little bit there on boxing, and we'll talk a little bit about that with our special guest. Next, we're going to move on to mixed martial arts, not mixed martial art, but mixed martial arts. And it's not really mixed martial arts. It kind of is, but it's relevant because it's in the general public's eye. The Mayweather versus McGregor 2, potentially. So, there's talk being bandied about is Floyd Mayweather, who's one of my favourite boxers of all time, going to fight Conor McGregor in mixed martial arts, which will kind of be one for one pro boxing and one mixed martial arts fight. Just very briefly, the fight, I didn't think the boxing fight was going to happen. I'd completely dismissed that. Money talks. Obviously, I think McGregor, you know, he performed very well, and I think he admirably performed there against Floyd Mayweather. But it was an undisputed win there for Floyd Mayweather. It's only going to go one way. Those who criticised Floyd Mayweather for quote-unquote running, which is an impossibility in a boxing ring, so if you run, you'll actually get out of the ring and clear. So he stayed in the ring as he's done all his fights and, you know, defended himself and hit and not be hit, which is rule number one. Rule number one is protect yourself at all times, but hit and not be hit, and he's been very good at doing that in his career. You know, he actually came forward and walked McGregor down, which was interesting, and nobody expected that. As far as mixed martial arts, do I think that Floyd Mayweather, on the strength of showing himself walk into an octagon several times, is going to step into the mixed martial arts world? Personally, I think absolutely not. Here's the reasons why. When McGregor stepped into the boxing ring, McGregor had, you know, a number of years in striking experience, you know, punching, basically. Let's just talk punching, not elbow, knees or kicks, but McGregor, it's safe to say, has thrown punches before. And he's thrown punches at a high level in his chosen sport. And he's trained to punch before. You know, there's no arguments there, that's facts. With Floyd Mayweather, has he ever wrestled before, other than when he was probably a kid? Likely not. Has he ever practiced any kind of form of jiu-jitsu, Gracie Barra jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu of some form? Probably not. Okay, has he ever kicked before?
Probably not.
Probably not. Has he ever thrown elbows before?
Probably not.
Has he ever thrown knees before? You can see where we're going to go with this one. So,
Yeah.
He has. Okay. So he's thrown knees. So are high-level boxing tools and nothing else enough to compete in mixed martial arts? Absolutely not, because you're coming from a sport that you have no background or any kind of pre-training in. So how is that going to work? Now, is Mayweather at 40, 41 years of age going to start learning how to wrestle and how to defend triangles and submissions? Absolutely not. And my prediction would be, here's the thing, I mean, you know, if you brought Mike Tyson in his prime into MMA, okay, because at one point Rickson Gracie was going to fight Tyson. Now, your mind would likely say Rickson would win that, you know, a tremendous fighter and martial artist. But part of your heart says, could Tyson win? Because Tyson's a heavyweight and he's ferocious and he punches so hard. So, you know, maybe Tyson would have a 10% chance against Rickson Gracie, you know, 10, 20 years ago when that was going to happen. But Floyd Mayweather isn't a puncher. He's not a heavyweight. So for me personally, I think he'd have virtually no chance to beat McGregor in a mixed martial arts fight, because when does Mayweather ever knock, well, he has knocked guys out with one punch before if you go back in his, like early in his career, but he's not a puncher. So how, he wouldn't really even have a puncher's chance. And why would he? I mean, how much is he going to get for that? Say he gets another 150 million top. He's got a check 150 million. He's not even cashed yet. So to me, that doesn't make any sense, and I don't think it's going to happen. So just before we talk a little bit on PEEP EXCESS, and we're going to bring on our special guest very shortly as well, the third piece of news I wanted to dip into was the Super Gym, which is going to be opening its doors shortly in Alnwick, the good town of Alnwick. It's going to be put together by a friend of mine, Ollie Dial from Elite Fitness, who coaches and trains out, as I've said, Alnwick. He's had a smaller facility there for a number of years, and he's actually upgrading to a brand new facility. As I said, a super gym, which will have fully equipped free weights area, machine-based area, cardiovascular suite, outdoor training area, an incredible brand new facility. And as part of that, Team Alpha will be kind of in association with Elite Fitness. So I myself will be basing Team Alpha at the Super Gym. It's going to be a fantastic facility. We're going to have Q Team Alpha logo. Let's just see that thing spin for a few seconds. Is it spinning or just is it up there? And from there, I'll be coaching myself. I'll be coaching, obviously, power kickboxing and mixed martial arts-based striking, and some of the concepts of other martial arts disciplines. For those interested in training in Alnwick or the Alnwick area, want to dip into the mixed martial arts, and the boxing and the kickboxing. What you could do is go onto Facebook, just type in Alnwick Super Gym. The information will come up there for you. We're looking to open imminently, and we'll be having an open night where you can come actually visit the gym. I think it's February the 24th. There'll be more details to come. So for all your gym and fitness, conditioning, martial arts needs, it's going to be an interesting place to come and visit. Now, here at PEEP on PEEP EXCESS, or PEEP on the Move, perhaps that's another graphic we should throw up, we will actually be visiting the gym, filming, doing a little bit of film work, asking questions there, speaking to Ollie Dial, speaking to Jeff Brown, who's running the whole media side of things there, speaking to some of the instructors, and it'll be our first kind of out gym tour, because we did say in episode 1, I believe, we wanted to do a piece on the show where we would go out and visit various different gyms, boxing gyms, mixed martial art gyms, kickboxing gyms, every type of gym, perhaps even meet Jim himself and do a little piece on them, train there, talk to some of the fighters. Just got that. There was a 3-second delay on that joke. I put that in intentionally, just in case the stream's running slow. So I thought it'd take people a while to pick up on that one. So it'd be interesting. That'll be our first out of gym PEEP, PEEP EXCESS, PEEP on the Move piece. And you for yourself will get to see some of the fantastic things going on at the Super Gym, Team Alpha Gym in Alnwick. And as I said before, we'll be visiting other gyms around the Northeast and eventually around the country. And who knows, we can get the funding around the world. I'm up for a 6-week trip to Hawaii, Cliff. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Fantastic. Right, so we'll be putting that together for you.
Probably slightly warmer than India.
I think so. Probably 2-1. We need fans instead of heaters. So, but it's not as cold. I think the all-time. This could be a future competition. Try and guess by the looks on the faces of myself and the guests which has been the coldest episode of. And I think I guess how cold. So I think you'll be able to. First of all, there's 2 parts to this question, this competition. Number 1 is which was the coldest episode, and number 2, what was the actual temperature. And you can probably see, because during the episode I started to develop a really bad cold that turned into a flu. So that's it. So Alnwick Super Gym, go onto Facebook right now, don't delay, and type in, as I've said, Alnwick Super Gym Team Alpha, and find some more details on there, and stay tuned for a piece on the gym. And we'll also, on the same day, be visiting Barter Books. You'll get your own taste of Barter Books. We've talked about it every episode, so you yourself shall see the magic, shall we say? The majestic magic, the majesty, I was going to say, of Barter Books. Right then, we're going to just dip very briefly into PEEP EXCESS, and then we are going to bring on our special guest. So PEEP EXCESS tonight, which I'm going to find. You can see I've done my prep work for tonight. We're going to talk a little bit, because as we've said, as we always say, Ridley Scott is a fan of the show. He is a fan of the show. Massive fan of the show. You actually, Cliff, I think you got in contact with him when you were in film school, had you not?
Yeah.
And you know, you'd expressed your interest and respect of his work, and he'd very graciously got back in touch with you, and he's now a fan of the show, and you know, he follows the show and supports us here. Potentially not going to get him on anytime soon because he's very busy at the moment, as he always is. But a shout out to Ridley Scott, and his latest film, which I watched, although he has done one since, was Alien, not Resurrection. the follow-up to Prometheus. Fantastic film. Ridley, I apologise for getting the film wrong, but we're going to Google it right now. We're not going to move until we get this film, because I watched it and it was good. I enjoyed it. I mean, Prometheus, at the time, I wasn't so sure of it because it was kind of a little bit of a diversion from what I'd loved about Alien and Aliens. Alien 3 I hadn't watched, which apparently is quite good. Yeah, Alien. Well, this is the newest one. It's the follow-up to Prometheus.
Yeah.
We're going to find it.
Yeah, huge fans of it, really.
Huge fans. Blade Runner. We did a lot. You know, we've talked a lot about Blade Runner, and we did a review actually on Blade Runner 2049, which I'm going to rewatch. We watched that at the cinema. That was fantastic. So, what was the new Alien film? Covenant. That's it. Alien Covenant. I call it Covenant, but Covenant. That's it.
I'm a bit confused there because
No, that was it. That was kind of a step back towards what I remembered about Alien and Aliens. Good little movie actually, and I advise you to check it out on DVD. You can pick it up at Tesco's or Asda for £10, or go on to Amazon, which I've been doing quite recently, and renting movies from Amazon and adding to Jeff Bezos's already exponential wealth. So there's nothing wrong with that. PEEP EXCESS. It's about H.R. Geiger, who created the artwork for the aforementioned Alien films and movies. He's a Swedish artist. I'm going to hold up the book, which we're going to reference. We're going to talk a little bit about H.R. Geiger. Swiss. What did I say? Swedish. There's a big difference. There is a difference. So PEEP EXCESS, for those who haven't tuned into the show before, I did say at the start, we'll talk a little bit about books, about art, about music, science, film, street life, streetwear, everything. So H.R. Geiger, as I say, is a Swedish artist. Swiss. He's a Swiss. He's from Switzerland, for God's sake. Not Sweden. I'm just winding you up. So, yeah, fantastic artist. Now, he's best known for his work on the Aliens films, which is, I don't believe, he's still alive, isn't he?
He died. He died.
Did he?
He died a few years ago.
Really? Okay, we'll rest in peace, H.R. Geiger. So the work that's done on the Alien films now, Alien Covenant, which we just talked about, you know, it goes all the way back to the original film. So they're obviously, you know, they're not going to change the alien. But what I'm trying to say is that the artwork and the artistry and the design work that was done from the very first film, which I think 1970, was it 78? That 79 when the first Alien came out. I'll have a look in the book. Yeah. So that's. On the, oh yes, of course, if it's on here. We've got the Alien quadrology, I can't say my words today, quadrology. Let's see if it says, not on the box. Let's have a look inside. So it was certainly the 70s when the first Alien film came out, and it was quite revolutionary, the artwork that he'd done for that first film. I think we're going to struggle. No, it's 1979, I was right. So it was 1979 when it came out, and it was a revolutionary project of H.R. Geiger's to work on the film. And I think what stays in people's memories, and I certainly believe what stays in people's memories about the film more than anything else, was the alien itself, and that's to credit H.R. Geiger for the work that he did. It was kind of very sexually based. That's what he based his work on. Yeah. You know, the egg, you know, the chest burster, all those types of things had that kind of feel to it. That was the way he he did things, and I think in
guns as well. He was big on
guns, yeah,
with the babies for the bullets.
Yeah. Just about kind of creationary, or not almost. Would that be the right word? And weaponry and you know, I mean, you can see on the cover here. To me, it looks like these babies are, I don't know, like condoms to me. Do you know? Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of what he based his work on. No, I shouldn't have said like creation is in man and woman together, and you know, that type of thing.
I think he also done a collaboration with Deborah Harry.
Yes, he did from Deborah Harry from Blondie, and that's in the book. So he also did a little bit of artwork for music too. Now my homework was to read this entire book, but unfortunately I only received my homework minutes before we ran. So I've had a quick flick through it, and it's very interesting, some of the work that's in here. So we're going to point to some of the pieces. The two most, I think, prominent ones would be when he discusses a little bit about aliens. So we're going to zoom in on some of the artwork he's done for the film, he produced for the film Alien. The famous ship here, was it the Traveller they were called, the Traveller's ship, or was it the Traveller? No, what did they call the alien that was inside that? Not the alien, but another alien being. Here we go. It was the what was it named? The pilot. Did they call it?
Just a little side thing as well, James. I was watching an interview with Ridley Scott a few days ago, and he was shocked that no one mentioned why the disc jockey was dead. That was
it. Yeah. The disc jockey. That was it. The jockey. Sorry, that was the terminology. The jockey. Yeah. So that's what they'd kind of nicknamed or named this alien being. Because if you remember in the first Alien, I don't want to get offshoot of Geiger and go on to films, but in the original, no, it's fine. In the original Alien film, as the astronauts are wandering around, they find this ship, which spoiler alert, but it was 30 years ago or so the film came out, so I'm hoping people have watched it since then, or between then. They come across this ship, and as they come inside, they find this jockey, this kind of space creature, and it's never really hinted upon where he came from, other than he was crashed. You don't really find out, and then it leads on to them finding the eggs, and all hell breaks loose. In a sense, the later films kind of spoiled that, because the mystery of what was going on there was unique in its own sense, and then kind of revealing it took away some of the the excitement in a sense. So yeah, and then we talked a little bit before about with Debbie Harry. We did he did a little bit of artwork there for Debbie Harry. I believe he won an Oscar for his work on Alien. So he was into music as well, artwork for musicians, specifically for Debbie Harry and Blondie. So a tremendous artist. As I say, we're not going to go on too much about it because I haven't had a chance to really look through the book. For me personally, as a layman, I recognise Geiger as I've said before, from the film Alien. I believe he did Dune as well. He did some of the work on Dune. Now, did he actually get involved in that, or was the film? I know the film came out, but was it cancelled when he was working on it and they had to pull it? Or
well, I think there may be two Dunes, because I'm talking about the Dune maybe back in 71 or 72.
With Sting and the chap from.
Well, he actually made something before.
I thought, from what I looked at in the book before, I thought he'd talked about that.
And then Dune maybe early 90s, late 80s.
Late 80s, I think that second,
I think those were his actual films.
Right, okay. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, it's the book. It was based on Dune and the spice and all that type of thing. So it was just really a brief mention there on PEEP EXCESS about Geiger. So it's something that we want to perhaps look into. And certainly if you're not interested in his artwork per se, I've just had a look through the book and talked about how he stayed at Shepperton Studios, and that was quite interesting as he was working on the film Aliens. Certainly check out his work in the films Aliens. If you haven't seen them, it's worth going back and running the original film, or the second one, Aliens, which was directed by... Who was the director? The guy who directed Avatar, James Cameron, was it, who directed Aliens, the second, the follow-up, I believe it was James Cameron. Fantastic film, and action, sci-fi, horror, all combined, character study, great piece of work. So perhaps check out H.R. Geiger if you've got any interest in art whatsoever, or the country Sweden.
Yeah, Sweden.
We got it. And if you're into films, you know, sci-fi, horror, or perhaps just films in general, then check out the Alien quadrilogy, because there's actually a fifth and a sixth. So we've got 4 there, 4, 5, there's 6, I think now, 6 films that we have out. And perhaps just, you know, log on to Amazon, rent out Alien, or if you've got Netflix, it may be on there. Have a watch, see what you think, and look at an absolute classic.
Anyone got any questions out there?
Right, that's a good point. Should we do a little? So that was a small part on PEEP EXCESS. As I say, my homework consists of me coming into the studio, reading the book for about 5 minutes, and then just reflecting on what I knew about his work on Alien. But it's something that we want to include tonight because we're also about culture. We like to talk about men hitting men in the face or women hitting women in the face, but we also like to talk about culture and other things besides. So, what was it? Sorry. Yes, questions. If anybody has any questions there, you're free to comment. The best way to do it is likely on YouTube. So on the comments section, if you just type away there, you know, rattle away on your keyboard, so to speak, and fire any questions to us, and I'll be more than happy to do my best to answer them, or at the very least, give you my opinion on those. I wonder if any of the special guests we've had on are watching tonight. Do we have Chris Reed, Steve Ibbotson, David Wield, or Mickey Terrell watching our stream tonight? If you do, please comment, because it would be great to hear from you guys.
If there's anyone trying to comment, you
Yep.
can't comment, could they please
Trick
get
water.
in touch somehow, because
Yeah.
we're not too sure if the comments are working.
No worries. Well, if you like I say, if you just want to just add something, then please comment away. You may not want to ask a question, but you may want to make a comment. And remember to subscribe or like. Also, I'll mention just before we bring on announce our special and bring on our special guest, support at PEEP. We are looking for technicians, videographers, artists to come on board and join the PEEP team as we expand around the world. If you have any interest, as I say, in videography and art, in production, perhaps you're graduating from university and you're looking to become involved, then contact us what is the best way to contact us? I'm going to tell you. You can contact us through Twitter, you can contact us through Facebook, leave us a message, perhaps with your number on, and we'd love to chat to you about some work you could potentially do for us. Right then, so special guest time. I have to say I wore 2 pairs of socks and my feet are starting to freeze up, but it's all good. So I'm going to bring on our special guest, and then we have a little competition as well. So our special guest is a fight promoter. I'm just going to run through some of the shows he's promoted, and I'm sure he can talk more when he comes on in a second. He's promoted a 4-man world tournament in the United States of America. He has promoted Super Combat World Tryouts. He has brought over Paul Daly, Ernesto Hoost, Melvin Manahoff. He has held 4 world 4-man tournaments with the WFL, I believe, and worked with Casey Oxidane from the good old US of A. He's also brought international fighters over to fight in the UK for the last four years and promoted 31, very specific, 31 events. It may be 32 or even 30, but we're going to go with 31. He is the best promoter in the world to host Super Combat. I am reading off script here. He has also signed Jamie Bates and our aforementioned Mickey Terrell. I only just met him for the first time tonight. I would like to bring on, potentially onto the exploding chair, Mr. Garry Bell. Woo! How are you doing, Garry? Nice to see you. Okay, just have a seat. I think you've got the good one.
Give you guys a little reward for supporting Contender Promotions.
Oh wow, thank you. That's really kind. Wow, man.
This isn't exploding, is it?
That's really,
it's a dodgy chair. I don't know if it's going to explode, but it's dodgy.
It's really kind. Thank you. Really appreciate that. That's really gracious of you.
I'm going to zoom in on that.
That's our first time anybody's ever brought anything to the studio. It's really kind.
That's the first time anyone's ever gave me anything.
That's great.
It's like a Christmas present.
It's lovely. Thank you. That's going to go straight up onto the PEEP studio wall, and we'll make sure we put something on that. And perhaps I feel a competition coming on as well, so we're going to make sure that goes up. I'll just very carefully place that down here, and with a glove as well. Thank you for the signed glove there, and we're going to put that. In fact, we'll keep both of those together.
I hope I'm not going to see it on eBay.
Fantastic. No. Hopefully not. We may need to raise funds for this Hawaiian trip that we're trying to put together. So, how's it going?
Yeah, good.
Good. Can we? I'll just what I'm gonna do, Gary. If you don't mind, just bring that microphone a little bit closer to you. Yeah, you okay?
Yeah.
You okay? Don't worry about that. I'll just we'll try and arrange this so we can. There we go. How's that? Is that okay? Yeah, they got that. So, let's talk a little bit about fight promotion. How do you get involved in the game?
Just from being a kid, really, training martial arts like anybody else. I used to train in like the local community centres to start off, and just worked my way from then. I've done quite a lot of styles, and I started competing, and then opened my own gym. I used to teach at another gym beforehand of that, and then the fight promotion. My first one I done in 2009. Right. We done it in a little club.
So nearly 10 years ago. It's not far off there.
So, and we've been going ever since, and every show we've done, we've always tried to improve every single time. So,
what would you say the biggest challenge is for a fight promoter? I mean, say when you started. In fact, let me rephrase that question. What was your biggest challenge when you started fight promotion?
The first biggest challenge with fight promoting is being consistent and getting people to sort of want to work with you. Because when you first start, even though people might know your name in the area, like where you've grew up or where you've fought, whatever, it's different when you're trying to expand out of the area and bring fighters in. So that was the first problem which I found was hard, was gaining that sort of trust. But over the years, the more I worked at it, the more contacts that I gained, and the more easier it's sort of got. I wouldn't say so much easy, because it's hard. I think fight promoting, anyone that does fight promotions, it's on a knife's edge all the time. You can have everything one day, and by one phone call, you can just all come crumbling down on you, and it is a tough game.
What inspired you to? I mean, I think you mentioned a little bit in the introduction there, but what really inspired you to get started in fight promotion? What made you? What caused you to transition, so to speak, from competition to promotion?
I think I used to see watch the TV. Obviously, I used to watch the big K1 events and the Pride events. UFC weren't even about at that time. Makes me sound
well, not in any kind of modern format. It was the old sort of style versus style on the VHS tape, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I just sort of wanted to bring something like more exciting, like to watch, because I'd went to a lot of shows, and it was just like, oh yeah, we'll stick a ring in the room and get people in, and I think that's what people's perception is of going to some events these days. They go and they see a boxing ring in the middle of a room, and it is good to start in the base, but as I tried to grow, I wanted to grow. I wanted to do it for the fighters, because I understand what it's like to be there. So everything from behind the scenes and working with the fighters up until the day of the fight, and the way people get treated, that was something I was it was like one of the key things that I wanted to bring into my game as being a promoter. And I think we do that as well. I think a lot of people want to work with us now, and people like working with myself and the promotion, because I take myself professionally when I do it, and I try and treat the fighters professional, whether they're amateur, semi-pro or pro. I try and treat everybody the same, and I try to not just promote myself, I try to promote the fighters from any level. We have guys who work with us, and we try and build them up the ranks, whether they cross over and fight on other shows. It's not a problem, because I believe everyone should work together. But I try and bring fighters over, whether you're amateur. Again, if you're amateur, semi-pro, pro, I'll still try and bring the fighters over, international fighters. I don't just try and stick with my local area. So it is hard, because you need sponsors on board to help out, and because it's hard just to rely on like a ticket sale to do the event.
Well, that's the thing, because none of these shows, realistically, none of the shows are going to have pay-per-view. So essentially, your money's going to come from people buying a ticket and turning up. So that means that you've got to get bums on seats, but to get those bums on seats, you've got to have the venue there ready and perhaps paid for just to break even sometimes. So sponsorships, I imagine, quite a big part of the game. Yeah,
it's hard, because I would say, me personally, I would say 95% of, if not more, I would say 95% of people who go to fight shows, especially in England, I would say, family and friends of the fighters. And that's the other 5%, which I would say, that's the other 5% that actually hit. Because if I can get the people in, the fans actually, because we have actually got fans, but what we need more gyms to be involved and come. But it is harder in the UK than like say like Holland when I've been over there.
Why would you say that is? Why would it be harder over here?
I think because it's not one of our main sports.
Yeah.
It's still like even though we are getting bigger, it's still sort of it's still a bit, it's like a hidden sport type of thing. Like you've got like football, boxing over here in the likes of like Europe. You've got football and kickboxing. So it's different. That's why the money's a lot more when you fight in Europe, and that's why
it's good though that for me personally though, as you said, the sports in this country. Rather than saying football and rugby, you said football and boxing. Yeah. So in my mind, it's almost like there's a renaissance of boxing in the UK at the moment, you know, and that's a good thing though, isn't it?
No, it's definitely good, because you know yourself when just talking about Conor McGregor and Mayweather, as soon as that went up, even though Conor's from a mixed martial arts background, it just went crazy. Like social media, bigger than I think any boxing event that's happened. It just went. I think it's the biggest fight ever. But it just went crazy. But Conor McGregor's like a promoter's dream. But what Conor does, the other fighters don't, is he promotes himself a lot. Because fighters need to understand that you might work for a promoter, like they might come and fight for me, and I'll help them and guide them, or Dave Wheels Forever, or Tony Cunningham, whatever promotion is or promoter. You need to brand yourself because. You have to be like a brand. Very much so. I think that's especially relevant in today's time with social media so predominant. You know that you brand on Instagram, on Facebook, and the social media platforms, Twitter, etc. That if you can, build your own fan base from that, have people who are interested in coming to watch you fight, and then you go into fight at a show with a promoter, and then he can expand on that. That's helping you out, isn't it? So your first show you ever promoted. Can you tell us, let me think, how should I phrase this question? That's kind of what I'm going to go for. So can you tell us a few, I don't want to say horror stories, but just what went right and what didn't, I'm not saying wrong, what was the biggest learning experience from your first show? That's how we're going to phrase this. Biggest learning experience. When I first started, it was sort of because I had my own gym as well, so it was like, it was easier for me in a sense because I had my own fighters. I fought on it myself. And it was easier in that way, which I had my own fighters, which was local, but it was hard in the sense like I was doing everything myself at that time. So I was like, I'm running my gym, I was training everybody, I cornered all my own fighters, I was fighting myself. So it was hard. But big at the time, I sort of didn't understand it. I didn't understand the commitment it takes to be a fight promoter. At the time, it was just like, I can do it. I just thought I've seen other people doing it. And you think you can do it, and I think I've done a good job of it. But there was still a lot of
just kinks to iron out kind of thing.
Kicks to iron out,
well, it's like anything. I mean, there's no mistakes, is there? I mean, it's all learning because I think that on your first show, there's things that perhaps, say hypothetically, there's 100 things that went wrong, then even if on the next show there's just 99 things that go wrong, at least that's one less, and then you progress, I guess, from there and improve and improve. So of the shows that you promoted, I mean, maybe I'm jumping too far. So then let's talk. So you did your first show and you fought. So you tell us a little bit about your perfect segue into your second show. So what happened on the second show that you could say you learned from the first, and did you fight on the second show, and how did that go?
Again, right?
I fought twice on the second show.
Didn't learn my lesson because I knew how hard it was from the first time to fight on the show and promote it, and like I had the job at this time as well, so I was actually I was working, I was running the gym, I was training my guys, I was trying to train myself to fight, and I was trying to promote a better job than what I even done the time before.
I see where we are. So it's even harder. It's even more.
So I had this fight. Was doing well. I ended up getting my jaw broken in that fight. I lost that fight, but that's the fight game. But it was harder. So after that, it was like, do I fight on my shows anymore? Because I realised how much time it took, and it sort of took time away from promoting as well. And one thing I found, it took time away as well. It took time away from my own guys, and I weren't training properly either. because I was putting my energy into the fighters, or putting my energy in the gym, putting in the... You know, yourself being a fighter, you need it has to be solely on you. So I was like splitting my energy all over. No more of that.
Yeah, so on the third...
I think the chat's actually down, so if anyone wants to make a comment, just make a comment via Facebook.
No worries, the chat's down, so if you'd like to make a comment, you have two options. One option actually. Well, two options. Either through Twitter... Through Twitter at PEEP Magazine,
or you can go Facebook, the page,
or you can go onto the Facebook page and comment on the Facebook page,
or the PEEP Magazine group.
Or the PEEP Magazine group. And a third option, if you'd like, you could deliver your comment yourself. You can come and join us at the studio and ask, but you're not allowed in because we don't have much more room left. So you might want to just write it down and stick a note under the door, and then we'll read it on set. So the third show, we didn't fight on that one.
No, the third show. So it's hard to
don't worry, Garry, I'm not going to do every show. We're here for a long show.
Because I can't even remember last show.
No, of course. So it's interesting. So you basically found that that fight on the show wasn't a good idea, and then it kind of like it evolved from there.
Yeah, progressed from there.
Yeah. So sorry, go on.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, and then again, as much as like wanting to fight and wanting to be a part of it, but I knew that wasn't a good thing, to be honest, because it's the time, the promotion, it takes so much time up, like matchmaking.
If you're going to do it properly.
Looking for, especially, because that's the difference. I didn't just want to turn up and stick a ring in the room. I didn't want to do that. I wanted my show to look like what you see on TV, like the likes of like Glory, even though it doesn't look like Glory, but I try and mimic the types of shows like WFL, whatever, and I try and make Contender to look like, and I try and what I want to do, I want to give the fighters the feeling of being a star, because when you think of a fight show, it's the fighters that are the stars of the show. Like, it's not me who's the star, it's the it's the guys, and the fans are coming to watch a fight event, but as much as they're coming to watch two guys or two girls punching each other's face, and it's what else comes with it, or what else I can bring to it. So by having like screens and big posters and banners and lights and right music and everything running correct, it 100%. It sort of gives a massive difference to just going to an ordinary show.
Definitely. I remember as a younger fighter, one of your favourite things, my favourite things was, have been on the posters and, that kind of thing. And then a few of the fights are on Sky, when you're seeing it on Sky and stuff. I mean, like, the point being is that, when you're seeing that kind of media side of it, you want that, don't you? So it's good to have that, It's interesting. I mean, a question that I have for you about shows, I mean, what's your opinion on, say, and I'm only mentioning this because me and David talked about this a few shows ago. I remember the infamous, it wasn't called Duel, it was called, what was it called before? David had told us before he named it Duel. Well, let's call it, I think we called it Duel 0.5, so 0.5, so like pre-Duel. And it was an infamous show that the doors opened at, and this is true, this is the truth, because me and David were laughing about it a few weeks ago, that the doors opened at 12 midday, and the last fight finished about 1 o'clock the next morning.
Really?
Fact. And I fought on that show, and I was second.
You the next day?
The next morning, and I was. I think it was Marlon Hunt versus your Jamie Bates for the world title, and I was on the undercard with the idea being that me and Ford, whoever won that, would fight the winner. And I remember it just being a full day, and David was laughing about. I mean, poor David, what a day it must have been. It's almost like a day, not a day, but like a 2-day event almost.
It's like tell the fighters bring your sleeping bags.
Exactly, yeah. So
can't outfight you.
It was one of those. Well, I mean, it was a great show. I mean, it was fantastic. We had some great fights on it. It was, so it was a great. So shows where, for example, I went to a show in Inverness, which was one of my favourite fight shows. Apart from the lack of security around the ring, where I personally don't want to see fans of fighters grabbing cages and shaking them and shouting out expletives. We don't want to see that. But for me personally, because there was families as tables, but it was only a limited amount of fights on. I think it was like 8 fights or 10 fights. So it was kind of on. You were away. It wasn't overdone. But Don King, who's still going as a promoter, I think, still promoting, he was infamous for having these long, when he'd have, the fights would start in the afternoon and run right through. So there's this idea in my mind between kind of, well, three things, I guess: value for money, so to speak, retaining the interest of the customer or the spectator, and also making money, when I say making money, I mean, breaking even, or, etc. Obviously, if making a little bit of money, making money is absolutely, absolutely justified in every single way for any promoter, that's but I know it's a case of sometimes often just breaking even. So my point is, where do you sit on that, for the amount of fights on a card?
Yeah, it's hard because I've had fight cards where I've had, say, 12 fights, and the cards you've made money from the card, and then you've had fight cards where you might have 18 fights, and you're not making money from the card, or you're breaking even,
or losing money.
I have lost money on shows, and I've made money on shows, and it's a cutthroat business. It definitely is, especially when because I've seen guys who come and they do 1, 2 shows, 3, and the first show maybe they'll do well, and then they sort of fade away after 2 or 3 shows. But like I say, I've been going a long time, and to keep it going and keep it consistent, and keep wanting to better myself, and to make better for the fighters. Like every time, like even people come and say, "Oh, had a really good night, really good show. You pulled out all the stuff." But even again in my head, I think I can do better. Every single time. So. And I want to do better all the time.
Of course, progression is key. But so, where do you sit on the fence? So, for more fights, less fights, or what would you say is a good number? I mean, do you think, let's say hypothetically, 5 is maybe not enough. 15's maybe too high. Where would you sit on the fence on that?
Yeah, maybe it's like 14 fights.
14.
Yeah. And normally, what I like to do, do 2 cards.
Right.
So I'll do like the low level card. And then you start with the main card, working up to the main event. That's how I like to do it.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Let's go for it.
We've got a question.
We have a question. we need to know the question.
We'll have a question to Garry Bell from Joe Fight Sports, Dave Wright.
I'll just cut him off.
Right. I don't want to hear your question today. What do you think of the current standard of Tier 1 shows in England, and where do you think it is heading? That was a question from David Wheel.
Yeah, to be honest, I think the northeast of England is we're doing really well as far as, I would say, standard of fight. I think as far as fight show standard, it's different to the fights, because when you go to some of these big shows like the likes of like Glory, WFL, even like UFC, these type of events, like they are really like another level to what we're sort of like producing, even though we have similar level of fighters on there, because there's a lot of fighters within the UK who haven't had the opportunities, or they haven't had that lucky break, even though they're as good as half of the guys that are fighting on like the likes of Glory, or even the MMA scene like UFC. There's these guys out there who are, but I think fight wise, I think we've got some good fights. I think production wise, I don't think, but I think it is getting better, and people are trying harder to make better shows. But I think we need bigger sponsors on, bigger investment, and hopefully TV. But I think what people instantly think is, we'll get TV on, but it's not as easy as just going to a TV company, will you just film my show? It's not as easy as that. They want to see
of course,
numbers and everything.
I remember working with who was it? It was a great promoter. He worked with the IKF and WKA, Steve. Oh, his name will come to me. Great promoter. And I remember he worked with Sky Sports.
Right.
And he had several shows. I mean, the Best of British series were all on Sky Sports. And I remember him saying about how basically Sky bought the rights for a peppercorn payment. I think they paid £1 for the rights.
Right, yeah.
So essentially, the promoter had to pay for all the film, all the cameras, all the all those types of things. And Sky just came and bought the rights for £1. That was purely just to promote it. So, getting on television isn't necessarily the way forward. Perhaps getting on social media could be the way forward.
Because even though you say that guy done that with Sky, but if the filming isn't done correct and the guy's solely going off ticket sales, then he's definitely not going to have the correct film crew, or the production of the show. So even though you may have TV on, it's still not enough without that everything else that comes with it.
Yeah, it's not the golden goose that it could purport to be, being on television, unless it's done in the
it has to be done professionally way.
I mean, maybe the way forward is Facebook live streams that you pay for or something like that. We could maybe something like that could move forward, or something where you pay. If you want to watch the show, it's promoted. Friends can share and promote, for example, and then you pay you pay £1.99 and you get several thousand people paying that, and that's just on top of your ticket sales as well. Yeah,
I think the way as well is the gyms need to get behind it a lot more. The gyms, coaches, and because they are the real fans of the sport.
Yeah,
but it's like you say, you put a UFC event on, say, and people from all over the country will go. If it was in England, doesn't matter whether it was in London or Manchester or Newcastle, people would travel to that event. It's like if somebody put on a smaller MMA event, I won't name no names, but to say some guys put an event on in Newcastle, not everyone will travel to that because the
standard production's not where it should be.
Yeah, and the fights are probably nearly as good. I'm not saying that I'm not saying the main fights, but a lot of the fights will be very good standards.
But I mean, again, coming back to the boxing side of things, we'll talk about a bit of a renaissance in boxing where Wembley Stadium's going to sell out now. When Joshua fighting, I remember Carl Froch fighting George Groves, and that was a sellout. And so it's nice to see boxing and really through process of osmosis, boxing, and that links onto MMA, kickboxing in a sense, kind of on the upswing. From what I understood, in the 90s, I think there was a lot of money put into kickboxing, but apparently the money was spent incorrectly, and kickboxing kind of missed its missed its chance to really shine and be be recognized. And then MMA kind of just took the ball they dropped, really, didn't it? Because MMA's, I don't know. I mean, we'd have to look at the data points, but I would imagine MMA is the second most popular combat sport in the world. I don't know. Is that true for viewing figures? Perhaps. But I'd say boxing certainly first, followed by MMA.
I would say.
And what's after that? Sumo might outrank kind of kickboxing. It might. I'm not sure the viewing figures. I think it's more popular just in Japan, but it's an interesting one. So, can you tell us? I mean, actually, just before we move on to some of the crossover that I'd like to get your input on. 2 questions. First of all, first question is there goes that paper. Any interesting stories that you could tell us a little bit over the shows you promoted over the last 10 years? Any stories that stand out in your mind? Any one particular one that you could share with us?
Any stories?
That's probably, is it PG-15? What time is it? We're not at the watershed yet, have we? No, it's strictly PG-15.
I don't know what I will say. I've met some interesting people within in the sport, and I've met some share. You're one of them.
Yeah, we at PEEP, we're one of them. Doesn't get much shadier than PEEP, that's for sure.
Yeah. PEEP after show.
Yeah. There you go. That's another graphic, Cliff. PEEP after show.
But yeah,
the after party at the after party.
I don't know whether to say this as a compliment, but when Chris Reed came in here, on his one, when we opened the doors, it was like, he says it was like walking in with snuff films. So I don't know really how to say that.
That's about right. We should, we'll pretty it up next time. Apart from that episode, I think it was Mickey was on, we had all the superhero figures and we talked about, that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Mickey's a character, isn't he?
Yeah, Mickey's great. I've got a lot of time for Mickey, yeah. Which was my next question, but you hadn't finished the first, so an interesting story, just anecdote. Let's say an anecdote rather than a story.
Interesting story.
Well, let me rephrase that.
Spot now.
Let me rephrase that. Give us a.
Take a couple of time out because we've got a lot of questions that come through.
Yeah. Well, let me just have this one. Just a funny event. A funny event. Something humorous that happened on one of the shows that you didn't expect.
A funny event.
An unexpected event, let's say.
I can't even think now. You're gonna have to, let me. I need to come back to this.
We'll come back to it then. Let's move to the questions.
Because my story might not be that funny.
That's okay. Yeah, sure. For Gary, I'm just gonna. Just.
Do I need to move around?
Yeah, if he could just come in, Jim.
Yeah, we'll get you in. That one, and then there you go. I'm sure it doesn't tip over.
Is it not? It is. Or viral if I fall off it.
No, go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, we've got a question from Vicky and Michael.
Yep, let's go for it. Vicky and Michael, thank you for watching us, tuning in.
Where can we catch Contender Promotions Fight Federation this year? Who can we expect to see?
We've got our.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, from Vicky and Michael, the question was, where can we expect to see Contender? What was the second?
Where can we expect to catch Contender Promotions Fight Federation?
Fight Federation this year. Where can we expect to catch Contender Promotions Fight Federation this year?
And who can we expect to see?
Yeah, this year the first next event's going to be the 31st of March at the Middlesbrough Events Centre.
Yep.
Actually, I've got 1 second. I'm prepared with my special bit of paper.
Yeah, let's go for it. We always like special bits of paper in here.
Yeah, so we have got a good fight card. Like I say, we had a few problems with going into this event. I don't know if Jim was going to ask this question, but we were originally doing this as a WFL event, but the main financial backer had pulled out with personal reasons, so that's not going ahead now. But we quickly changed it around and Contender Promotions, and now it's just officially the Contender event.
Yeah, sure, no worries. Hang on.
I think it's a bit far away from me.
Right.
It's fine.
Any further in, Garry?
Come. Yeah, just come.
Is that better, Cliff?
Just lean in a little bit. Just lean in. We've got to. Yep.
Yeah. So what I was saying, we're just officially the Contender event now.
Right.
And it's CP32, so it's our 32 show.
Yep.
Name a couple of fighters on the card. We've got Richard Zukes from Slovakia versus K. Samoza from Poland. K. Samoza, strong fighter. I've seen him. I don't know if you know a guy from the Dungeon MMA called Michael Parkin.
Right.
Michael was a real fan favourite on our show, and he, to be honest, I don't think anyone went the distance with Mike. He'd knocked everybody out within 1 or 2 rounds. Matched him with K. K's from Richie Cadden's gym in York, and he just was big upset for the crowd, I think, because nobody expected it. He knocked Michael out, caught Michael with a punch. So this will be K's second time on the Contender show.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to seeing the fight again, because we never really got much to see of him. We just know he's strong, and so yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And Richard Zukes, a tough guy from Monster Muay Thai, trained by David Sass. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Another top fight, which I can name. Oh, you'll know this guy. Trained by Jamie Bates, Christian Joplin.
Right, yeah.
Showtime, Mr. Showtime Joplin. He's fought on the Contender show a few times. He's actually the Contender Promotions champion.
Right.
He actually beat one of my ex-fighters, Andy Liddell. I think, did he stop him, did he, Mick? Did he stop Andy, or was it on points? Yeah, points win. But he's fighting Jay Connell from Ireland, so both these guys are unbeaten, so both young, both hungry, so international fight there, so I'm looking forward to that one. That's going to be a tough fight, and it'd be good to have Christian back on the card, fighting in the northeast. Another fight, just going off this. Actually, I tell you, we've got a real good fight here. Cliff might remember this guy. He's my own fighter. This guy, he's called Josh Thomas. He's fighting Adam Winzinski. He's from Chocty as well, Poland. I might have got his name wrong there. I'm not the
No
best
worries,
with his
that's
names,
alright, that's okay.
Yeah. They actually fought on the last show, Cliff, if you remember.
Yeah.
And it was a tough fight, and that's for the amateur title, that one. So
Be good.
be good.
Yeah.
So
I was just going to say as well, because we filmed Gary's last event
yeah,
and probably the event
before, yeah.
If
So
anyone wants to catch up on some of them fights that you're talking about, some of them guys.
yeah, so this fight is on PEEP YouTube, yeah. So Josh Thomas versus Adam Winsky, that's on YouTube. The previous fight. So if you watch it, you'll see the sort of standard these guys are at for the level they're at. So it's going to be a really good fight.
Good. Sounds like a good card.
Yeah, and well, I've
Did you get another one?
yeah, one more. This will be a really good fight. This one. We've got Kev Ward. He fought Jamie Bates on that Road to Glory.
Right, yeah. I
Yeah.
see him behind us there on the poster.
There he is there, yeah. He's fighting David Blinsky from Ireland, originally from Poland.
Right.
So Blinsky's he's knocked out his last 5 or 7 opponents, I think it is. So he's a bit of a
Tough guy.
handful, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That sounds good. It's good getting Kev Ward on there who fought Jamie Bates. That's a good
good
cue.
good name, yeah.
Excellent. What was the second question?
We've got a couple more questions. This is a question from Olympus FC.
Ah, yeah, Tony.
Tell them about London, Gary.
About
Tell them about London.
he's going to have to say a bit more about London.
He's going to have to elaborate.
Oh, it's Anthony Frankland. Right, yeah, I was thinking it was Tony from Olympia's Fight Store when you'd said that. So it's Tony about London. Oh, Anthony, is it past the watershed before?
Unfortunately not. We're still on the
25+7.
early days.
We've got another question.
Let's get one more question and then we'll segue into
Surprised Anthony wanted me to talk about what
crossover.
happened in London with him.
Another question from Vicky and Michael. Would you take Contender Promotions Fight Federation International, or are you happy to stay with England?
No, we are going. We're taking it.
Look, the question is, would you be happy to keep Contender Promotions in England, or would you look to go international?
Obviously, keeping it in England's the key, but we are looking to go international. We're actually doing a show in the summer in Dublin, Ireland with Tommy Chayo. Tommy's got a gym in Ireland also. He's also done a couple of events.
Right.
Tommy's comes over to our events. He'll be at the next event as a spectator, just watching and promoting Ireland. So yeah, we're definitely going to be going over Ireland. We've got massive interest, to be honest, when we put this out,
right?
Because we've actually brought a few Irish guys over in the past, and they all always want to come back and fight on the show. So it is going to be good, and the interest we got, it went crazy, didn't it, Mick? The post when Tommy put it out, it just went huge. So
right.
Really looking forward to being over there in the summer and drinking some Guinness as well.
Interesting. Well, last question then, just before we then move on to the our last piece, which is going to be about most memorable crossover fights in history. Well, first of all, the memorable moment. If you've got something there, if not, I've got a different question to ask you.
My most memorable fight?
Memorable moment in promoting.
In promoting. My most memorable in promoting. I think my most memorable in promoting is, I think it's the people I've met.
Yeah.
Like with it, I think it's the people I've met, because a lot of the guys who I deal with now, I used to watch these guys on TV, and now like it's just like casually numbering your phone, you can text them or ring them, and what you find, like, a lot of them are ex-fighters, or whether they're promoters or whatever, they are really just normal guys, like just like me or you. They've just got a bigger name, and they've done a lot. They had a lot more success within the careers, like say, but they are just not normal people, and humble. So it's good that, and it's like a good feeling as well to have met them and deal with them and introduce them to other people as well, not just thinking, oh well, I know this guy, or keep him to myself and bring him to my own gym, or only to my own promotion. Like, get him out there, because everyone knows these guys, who they are, like, and like get other people involved.
I think that's true of any. I mean, if you look at any kind of pursuit, whether it's sport of any kind, not just fighting, but any kind of any type of sport, football, rugby, film. You talk about top level actors, top level businessmen, social media people, like Elon Musk, who runs Tesla and some of the world's biggest companies, SpaceX. All these top guys, I think certainly from celebrities, so to speak, we're all just people at the end of the day. There's a perception we have of them. It's a persona that they have to portray, especially obviously as an actor particularly, and to be a certain way. But at the end of the day, we all come the same way, we all go the same way. So at the end of the day, I think having that humanity is and certainly that kind of awareness of self is so important, and those who don't have it are not as successful. I think so. I read a quote somewhere, and I certainly have found this, that the most successful people in life are the most down to earth. So and I think certainly that's double for fighters. You just have to believe, and you have to really believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing, and nothing is out of reach and nothing's impossible. And to I think if you agree with me, a tenacity that to keep going, but to have that humbleness as well. Because I think if you take it too seriously, you're never going to get to where you want to get the first time. It's going to take many times. And if you take it too seriously, you're going to quit. Or yourself. And I think that humbleness, that down to earth, but that passion, and that, as you say, to never give in. Because let's be honest, if you were, you have to be a little bit insane, because you were saying
I've had more downs than ups.
You would stop. Any sane person would quit. But to get there, you've got to just have that will. To just keep going, because most other people will quit.
It does. It's hard on your personal life as well.
Of course.
Whether you're fighting, you'll know yourself, or promoting's even harder on your personal life. It's hard, and running the gym itself is hard. Luckily, I've been with my wife since I used to fight, and she understands.
No, it's good.
The sort of life that I'm in. Been married for 4 years now.
Fantastic. That's good, man. That's good. So what is that? That's absolutely. Marriage is one of the most important things, man. Definitely.
No, you need a good woman behind you.
Absolutely. Family is key. Family is key. Absolutely.
And the people you surround yourself with as well.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Because that's it. Because the people that you surround yourself with is who you become.
Who you become, So you knock around with
scallywags.
You become a scallywag.
People will, you spend too much time in the studio.
It's true. You are what you're around.
Yeah, so, definitely. You're a reflection of what you're around. Definitely.
What's the date for your next show?
31st of March 2018, Middlesbrough Event Centre. Buy tickets, www.contenderpromotions.com.
We've actually, what I forgot to mention was there's Super Fight series happening. With dual face.
Yep.
At the Dome. July 28th.
Yep. July 28th. So July 28th, Dome. July 28th.
Yes, the walk activity dome, I think.
Walk activity domes. Dual super fights will be coming back to you. So keep an eye out for that. Tickets will be available soon. Promoted by our aforementioned #1 promoter, David Wright. Emir Sabasic. Super Fight Series. Got you.
It's with Jewel as well.
With Jewel, so promotion. Got you.
And there's another fight happening April 14th.
14th, that's right. That's right.
Which James knows all about.
Which I may have something to do with. So the next Jewel fight show will be at the NE6 Suite. David Wright and PEEP Magazine present. There will be a world title fight happening on that show, which will be an interesting event.
Who's fighting, James?
I don't want to say I don't know if I like talking about myself in that way. Tell you what, it's going to be interesting. I'll say that. So I don't want to take the light off our good friend over here. But listen, the next Duel show will be on April the 14th. Duel fights, as say David Wright and PEEP Magazine present. Tickets will be available. Tickets still available, or will be available soon. You can go on to www.iboxingtickets.com, or you can go onto Facebook and contact Duel direct. It will be a fantastic show, I can promise you that. The next show after that is a Super Fight series with Amir Subasic in co-promotion or presented by Duel, and that is on the 28th of June, did we say, sorry? July 28th. And the next Contender show will be on, once again, the 31st of March.
And our show after that is going to be a total amateur show, and that's the 26th of May. Yeah. For more information, just go on to www.contenderpromotions.co.uk or .com, and you can hit us up on our Instagram page, Contender Promotions, or hit us up on Facebook, Contender Promotions. And then we have Ireland coming off as well in Dublin.
Fantastic. So a lot happening. Yeah.
I've got a couple more questions.
Yeah, go for it.
Question from Olympus FC. Who do you think from the northeast will be a standout star of the future? Garry Bell.
Who do I think?
Yeah, sure. The question was, who do you think? Which fighter in the northeast do you think will be a standout star in the future? From Olympus FC.
Yeah, a massive fighter that stands out for me personally. This is not just with K1. He's a regular Contender Promotion star. This guy's been with me since he was an amateur fighter on the promotions. I don't train him. He's trained by a guy called Aaron Nesbitt from the Dungeon. Justin Bermanson. He actually fought on Bama.
Yeah.
The last with Bama Bellator one. Yeah. He fought on that. He's actually fighting again in Wembley. He's fighting a guy called Tommy King.
Right.
Which will be a real tough fight because they're both bangers, these guys. But Justin to me is the full package with a fighter, whether it's stand up or groundwork. I don't actually think this guy's been beat, or if he has, he's been beat once.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that.
Yeah, I don't think he's been beat. Because
I've filmed a few times and he's just won like.
I've brought guys over from Holland for him, and he's just won easy. Yeah, he really is a super talent. But the thing with fighters is keeping them interested and keeping them on the right track as a trainer. And I think Aaron's done a really good job with his guys, and like really Justin, as I'm going off this with Justin, because I've had guys myself I've trained in the past. You've probably done it yourself, and they're really, really good, but sort of drift away.
Yeah.
So and it's hard, and it's a bit disheartening sometimes because there could be so much more, and they could be fighting up there. But people like Justin, who's young, he's shown that. You know what I mean? You keep working hard, and things will happen. And we've got loads of good fighters from the northeast like that, like Jamie Bates and Juan Cervantes, Thomas Daniel, my own fighter as well, who's retired now. Hopefully you lose some weight and you come back.
Big shout out to Tomo.
Yeah, big shout out Tomo. He's actually coming back to the gym Monday. Actually, he messaged me.
Brilliant.
So. We talked a little bit about we're going to bring Jimmy Bates on a future show. So if you're watching tonight, Jimmy, we'd love to invite you on and get you onto the show very soon. What was the second question, Cliff, please?
We've got another one from Ultimate Disco Solutions.
Ultimate Disco Solutions, for all your disco needs.
Garry, how long does the production of a show take? The steps involved?
So, how long does it take to promote a show, and what are the steps involved? Just a brief.
Yes. Simon actually works for me, who's the guy there. So shout out to Simon. He works closely with me with doing the posters and stuff for Contender. He knows how hard it is to work with me. I'm not an easy guy to work with, to be honest. I'm laid back as a person, but I'm very fussy in particular with how things look. Everything has to be perfect.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree.
Everything has to be right. But the time that goes into shows, it's non-stop. I'll tell you now, I wake up on a morning, 7 o'clock, just say, help getting my kids ready, my wife, whatever, doing stuff, but I'm always first checking that phone. And then I'm teaching one-to-one sessions. After that, I'm checking or messaging back up emails, catching up. Even when I'm resting, I'm still working. It's a job that never stops, and it's not just the matchmaking. It's like getting things organised and trying to do things different, because if I've done something one way, I either want to better that way or do it a different way. So, and it's just non-stop. It really is non-stop. And even you think all the planning, you do all the planning, and all of a sudden things change. Like 2 fighters can drop out with your card, and then massive. Everything's on a knife's edge, like I said before.
You've got to be on your feet as well. You know, it's not that, like, it's not the situation that can happen and then everything has to be pulled. You have to work from that and then, you know, put things back together as best as you possibly can.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. But we have a small team. I have Mick over there who helps me on the night. He's like my right hand man a little bit, and then we have Mags. She works on the tickets now. Mick's wife actually works on the nights. She used to work doing the tickets, but then she had a baby and couldn't do it. My wife helps out, so we have a a good little team, and it's just finding that structure of getting people to do the right things. My brother's just come on board now. Actually, my brother he's into marketing and stuff, so he's now on with doing the websites and stuff like that. And then we have Simon. So I've got a good little team there, and to take Contender where I need to be, it's impossible to do it on my own. But then also I need to make sure that I'm making enough money to pay for these guys, pay for the shows, pay for the fighters, pay for the staff. So it's hard, but obviously I love what I do. I wouldn't keep doing it. I wouldn't keep coming back. It's like an addiction.
I think that's one of the keys, isn't it? Because you've got to, we talked before about, you've got to be not meticulous. You have to be meticulous, but you have to be, you know, dedicated in the sense of when things go wrong, just to keep moving forward, to be tenacious, to keep moving forward, you know, no matter what happens. But also to be able to do that, you need to be passionate as well. So you've got to have the passion and the tenacity together, because they kind of co-combine, don't they? That you're passionate, so you want to keep going, you keep going because you're passionate. So they kind of go hand in hand and kind of bring each other up, you know? Yeah,
because it does get disheartening, and you can't take it personal. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah, that's the key, I think, for anything, isn't it?
Try not to take it too personal. Just go with it. But the longer I've done it, the easier the heartache sort of gets. Like, you sort of know the signs, and when you do promote, you sort of know when someone's going to pull out before they even do. Like, it's crazy, because if you look at this fight card here, when I first started doing it, or if you look at this fight card now, what I've announced, that on the night, come 31st of March, the fight card could be totally not the same. I think it's only one time ever that my fight card has never changed. There's been times before where every fight on the card has changed.
It's interesting.
You wouldn't think it. Yeah, it's a tough one.
One.
Or even stuff like where you book flights for fighters and hotels. Yeah. And that fight is injured, or the other one isn't. You can't rematch that fight. So instantly you're losing money. Yeah.
And that's something again, and that's where the passion and the tenacity. You know, where it's good. It's got to come in where you may have to think on your feet. You've got to be tactical, but also prepared to change your tactics on a dime. Yes, Cliff.
We've just got a couple more questions.
Right. No worries. Okay.
We're still going to try and do that call if we can.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Even just for a minute. Vicky and Michael, is it true you had to play cool when you met Andrea Stoiker?
Oh yeah, this is a story actually. When you've asked for a story,
right. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. What was the question again?
Is it true you had to play cool when you met Andrea Stoiker in Holland?
Is it true you had to play it cool when you met Andrea Stoiker in Holland?
Yeah, this is a story. When you were saying an interesting story, actually, Mick was with me, but I have actually got another story that I want to tell you, but I'll tell you this one first. I was in Holland. I was at the WFL event. It was when Melvin Manoff fought Remy Bonjasky.
Right.
And I was coming out the event, and I was with Mick, and I was just stood there, and Andrea Stoiker was fighting on the card. And I've seen him because I've been to Super Combat when I worked with Edouard Iramia, and I'd seen him there fight numerous times when I was there. So I didn't know this guy would know me. So anyway, I was just stood there with Mick in the lobby, and he comes over and he's like, and I'll try and do his Romanian voice, but he's like, "Hey, I know you. And I just stood there and I'm like, you know me? And I'm like, does he know me? And he's like, yes, you are Garry Bell, Contender Promotions. And I'm like, God, it's crazy. This how this like guy, he just recognised me like who I was, and then he was saying that like he knew me. So yeah, it was good, like a good feeling to like someone like he's a really high level fighter. He knew me name, and he knew obviously what I'd done. So it was good. And for someone, he's like a fighter that I really like. I really like his style.
To have that,
So it was nice. It was nice to see that.
What was this story that you
heard? This story, just when we're on about other people in general and other sports. I've had this guy who's started my gym recently, and he was a professional Olympic runner. He raced against Mo Farah.
Right.
He's an Olympian. So anyway, this guy come to my gym. He was referred to me by one of my friends who trains with us, and he came down, and it was interesting. The reason why I want to tell this story, because this guy he came into my gym, he's never had a fight in his life, even on the street as a kid or at school. He's never been hit off anyone in his entire life. And he never actually thrown a punch in his entire life. So he came in, and you're thinking now, what's this guy going to be like when he actually gets hit, or what's he going to be like when he throws a punch? Because he's only ever watched TV, so all these curiosities were racing around my brain. So, and I was like, he was quite curious, so I was like, we were talking, I got him on the pads and he was training, and he's not actually that bad. He was like, it must be some sort of athletic thing that he's just naturally good. He's a bit of a natural, I would say, at doing it, and his punches were good, and he understood like quite clearly what I was saying when I was explaining to him what to do. And then we got to the point where I was like, what do you think it feels like to get hit? So I was curious, so I put my glove on, and I was like, I just want to hit you in like the stomach, just to show, because you've never been hit before, and I want to know what your reaction is of what you think it's going to be to what it actually is. So I'd like done it, and I'd like, not hard, but I'd like hit him, and he said it was like a strange like sensation that he couldn't like describe it, because he was like he said it like hurt. But like it was a weird feeling, because he's never been hit like that before. Like he's never been struck or anything. Know what I mean? He might have banged himself, but actually physically. And then it's curious again. He's been now ever since, and he's been doing like little light drill stuff. But even he doesn't actually turn away as most beginners do. When you're actually doing like drills or like sort of like sparring, he doesn't actually turn away. So it was just a story I wanted to share, because it's quite, I think anyone will understand who does sort of like martial arts or combat sport, it's quite rare to meet somebody who's actually never had a fight or had a spar in the ring or something, or even ever been hit or never have thrown a punch.
Well, I think that's it. I mean, it's interesting because, when I think the majority of people who watch boxing or mixed martial arts events have never fought themselves, or never maybe even fought full stop, or even experienced what it's like. And I guess in a sense that's where that kind of the armchair expert comes from, isn't it? Where it's
good few keyboard warriors out there.
The classic advice is knock him out, and it's a bit more complex than
that. Easy as that.
It's not as easy as that. What was the last question, Cliff? Let's fine. What was there was two questions.
We've got a question from Damien Janice Swanky.
Damius Janice Swanky.
Did you know that person?
Damien? No.
No, what was
Let's just pretend we do.
Damien Janice Swanky.
No worries. What?
The best trainer he's ever had.
The best trainer he's ever had.
Yeah, I'll take that one then. No, it is. No, I do, but I think you're saying his second name wrong.
Oh, sorry.
That's why. It's Paul. I call him Polish.
Januszewski.
Yeah, he's a top guy. In fact, Damien might actually be fighting on the contender card. He's only an amateur guy. I think he trained at another gym before, and maybe he's when he lived back in Poland he trained. But yeah, he's a top guy, and hopefully we'll see him on the card. I'm trying to match him as we speak, just as his first fight.
Brilliant.
We've got one last question for Dave.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you think that there is a different view of kickboxing by the public in Europe than in the UK? Question mark.
Do you, from Mr. David Wield, do you think there's a different perception, a different view of kickboxing in Europe compared to the UK? We've touched on this a little bit before. I think.
Hugely, because when anyone hears the word kickboxing in England, we think of moon boots and the shin pads and trousers. Even when we say crossover, like American kickboxing and the kick in the legs, they still wear the big boots and the shins and the trousers, but they'll do leg kicks, which it's very similar to K1, but without the knee, but they're wearing the pads. But that's why it's easier to say like K1 style kickboxing. In my option, it's easier to say it like that. But if you go to Holland, they'll call it kickboxing or K1 rules kickboxing. But yeah, there's definitely a difference, because if I say I'm putting on a kickboxing event, people will automatically think full contact with the trousers.
Really? Yeah.
That's what they'll instantly think. So even though it's full contact kickboxing, people will, even so if you say I'm putting on a kickboxing fight, I would say 99% of people will say, oh right, yeah, one of the kickboxing fights where they wear the trousers. If you say like K1 or like a Thai fight, then they'll obviously know different. But I don't know if you agree with me on this.
Well, I mean, I don't. Is that a bad thing? I mean, I think that, I think the term, for me personally, when I hear kickboxing, I section it into three parts, which is either full contact, which is what I would call, American style kickboxing, full contact, K1 rules.
Yeah.
K1 is a corporation. Now it's now a rule set, isn't it? Which is obviously the knee and the low kick, and then Thai boxing and then MMA. Then you've got boxing, and then you've also got what we'll call low kick kickboxing. So for me, it's a little bit different. I mean, when I say kickboxing, I would be surprised if everybody thought the long pants, but then maybe it depends where you come from.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is whereabouts you kind of based. Yeah.
Well, if there's anyone who agrees with me, that thinks kickboxing is the long pants, they would sort of say. I would say in Europe, then you would. It's different people because in Europe, I don't think full contact's that big. No, I think it's more karate. I think it's more full contact karate. The sort of categorise under.
I agree with that. I mean, I don't think full contact, because I think full contact was most popular probably the late 90s and the early 2000s, and then I think when MMA kind of took over, it was expected to see more of the straight up low kicks, and I mean K1's certainly taken over, isn't it? That's the most popular form, I would say.
I would say, and for me it's the most exciting, not just because I promote it and because I teach it. I like that's the style I like to see the most. I like like the sort of Dutch style. Fits really well for you.
It's interesting, though, isn't it? That there is those different styles and different ways of fighting, but and having to explain people what it is, and they say, is it like karate? And like, well, no, it's not like karate. It's like boxing, but you get the kick as well. And you're trying to explain the element of it. That's
what's hard because if you say kickboxing, but kickboxing has to be all of them. It's hard because it's easier to say. In my option, I think it's easier saying K1, even though it might be. A lot of people might say, "Oh, what's K1?" And then you're like, "Oh, well, it's K1 kickboxing." With kicks and knees also and punches.
Yeah, because once you say boxing, you kind of know. You know what it is, don't you?
Yeah, you could say the same for boxing, though, because you say boxing, but then there's different levels of boxing. Like there's the white collar boxing. And I think a lot of people who don't really know the sport might think that guy's a professional boxer, for instance. When it's not, it's totally different.
It is, and it's educating people out there so they know what's happening. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to move on to, we've got a couple more things left. I believe that we have a caller.
We're going to see if Dave Wright.
We've got a caller now. I think whilst we're waiting for that caller, we're just going to talk a little bit on most memorable crossover fights in history. So we're going to ask Dave Wright if he would, who I believe is interested on the phone-in section of the show. So we're going to ask Dave Wright if he would like to call in at any point, and then hopefully this will go to plan. and we'll be able to take this call and this question.
It's all live,
so it's all live, but we'll see what happens. So we are running a little bit short on time, so I want to move on to the most memorable crossover fights in. Oh, here we go. We're gonna leave that. All right, okay. Let's try this. Hello. Hello, is that Dave? This is James. How you doing? Nice to speak to you. Thank you for phoning. Brilliant. Well, good to have you on the show as our first phone-in guest ever, our 6th show in. What was your question?
Yeah, it's because of the time.
Oh, I do apologise. Right, so
four-man.
Right, so we're going to discuss the 4-man tournament.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the 4-man tournament. So the 75k tournament, we have David Wright, Will Marston, Scott McHugh, and Matthew Redding. Yeah. So are you able to put your phone on? Are you on speaker? Could you go on to speaker for us, please? Could you? No worries. Could you go on to speaker? Could you put your phone on speaker? No problem. Could you put your phone onto speaker for us? Can you go onto speaker, Dave? Nah.
It's a poor line, isn't it?
It's fine. It's fine.
It should work, right?
Well, hopefully he'll call back.
If he's listening, just ask him to put his phone on loudspeaker.
If you're listening, Dave, you just put your phone on loudspeaker when you call back, and that would be great. Very poor line. It's cut him off. Right, we'll try. I mean, can we try and phone him? Do you think, or no? Okay. Well, Dave, listen. If you can, try and call us back and put it onto speakerphone. If not, it's not a problem. We'll pick this up on another show. But oh, here we go. We'll try again. Hello, Dave. Can you hear us? Brilliant. Okay. So you'd like to talk a little bit about the 4-man tournament? Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm fighting on Garry's Contender Promotions 32 on the 75 kg tournament. I'm fighting the live draw for it on Facebook the other night, and I've been drawn against Scott McHugh, who I fought back in November for the Contender Promotions title. That was filmed by your guys. So if you want to watch the fight, it's on YouTube on the PEEP magazine channel. But I stopped this guy. But I've been seeing some of his posts and that he's been putting on social media. And he's training really, really hard. He wants redemption. So I think this is going to be it's definitely going to be a contender for fight of the night, I think.
Fantastic.
So give the fight fans something worth watching.
Brilliant. How's your training going for it?
It's going absolutely spot on. I'm training twice a day, 6 days a week, obviously under the supervision of my coach Garry. And then just going to the 7th week of fight camp now. Right. Got 7 weeks left. I just can't wait to get in there and do what I do best.
Fantastic. Good. Is there anything specific you've been working on for this fight?
Yeah, been doing a bit more strength and conditioning in this fight camp.
Right.
Because I think Garry as well. We both thought the last fight I had, we could have done with a bit more of strength and conditioning in the previous fight camp when I got ready for my last fight against Scott.
Yeah.
So this fight camp we've been working more on strength and conditioning. So yeah, because I just can't wait again and do it again.
It's two fights in one night, so whoever wins out of Dave and Scott and Matthew and Will Marston, obviously they'll have a little break in between, but then these guys will fight like twice in one night.
Right. The line's gone really poor again.
No problem, David. Just before we lose you, how do you feel about fighting twice on one night?
Yeah, it's something I've done before, but it was when I was kickboxing.
Right.
I've done it before, but obviously the transformation of it at K1 it's a bit different. But yeah, it's something I'll be prepared to go in and do. I'm preparing as hard as I can for it. I'm highly experienced. training really hard. And to be absolutely honest, I don't think nothing can train a chin. Now I know how tough my chin is, and I don't think anyone in this weight category can faze me. To be honest, like I said, I fought Scott in the last Contender Promotions event, and he gave me his best, and I soaked everything up. I came out injury free, and I was back in the gym on Monday. And every time I fought under 76 kilogram, I've never been stopped, and I've stopped everyone I fought. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Good. Is there anything that you've, as I said before, I think you worked on specifically for it. You said you worked on your strength and conditioning, but from that, any predictions of how that's going to help you or change the fight this time round?
Say again, sorry.
Anything that you feel the strength and conditioning you've worked on, let me rephrase that, how that's going to help you this time round, the extra strength and conditioning that you've done?
Yeah, it's good. It's we're working on the strength and conditioning more on this fight camp, because obviously I believe I'm going to have 2 fights in one night. So that extra strength and conditioning I'm doing in this fight camp is going to carry me over into my next fight, which is obviously the final, which I believe then I'll be in top notch condition.
Yeah. So, just lastly, so what's your prediction for this fight?
Well, I believe I'm going to stop him again. I stopped him in the first round last time with a liver kick, but that was over 3-minute rounds.
Right.
But I'm going for the stoppage. I want him out as early as I can, so I've got more time to recuperate for my next fight.
Right.
But if it goes to points, it goes to points. But
right.
I'm prepared for a war, and I'll give a war if needs be. Like I said, I know how tough my chin is. People know how tough I am as a fighter, and yeah.
Fantastic.
That's my prediction. I'm going to stop him, and then in the final, I'll stop whoever I fight in the final as well. Because like I say, I believe no one can beat me under 76 kilograms.
Yeah.
I just don't feel nothing. I don't feel nothing. When I'm fighting under 76 kilograms, I don't feel nothing. It's weird.
Yeah. No, that's good. Well, listen, for those viewers out there who like to see Dave Wright compete on this 4-man tournament, 75k, Contender Promotions, the 31st of March. Get your tickets now. Tickets are available at www.contenderpromotions.com
or UK. Yeah. Okay. .com or UK. Yeah.
Brilliant. David, thank you very much for calling us, and thank you for being the first caller on the show, and we look forward to seeing you compete on the 31st.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Take care, David. Thank you very much. Thank you.
While I'm here, I'd just like to give a shout out to every single person who's bought a ticket from me. I've sold 70 tickets so far, and I'd like to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart, because the support means so much, and I'm speaking probably from every fighter here. It means so much, and without you people buying tickets to come and support us on these shows, it's these events can't go ahead.
Of course.
So I'd just like to thank everybody who's bought tickets to come and support.
100%. That's great. Thank you, David. Take care. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks, James.
Bye-bye. Mike, thank you. Thank you.
Call ended.
Brilliant. That was our first phone in, and it went really, really well. So I'm pleased with that.
That's got to be a success, isn't it?
That's a success. We dropped one line. We dropped less calls there than Apple did when they first brought out the iPhone 5. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to save the most memorable crossover fights in history, because that's something I want to dip a little bit deeper into. And we are starting to run a little bit short of time. I'd like to expand that a little bit, and I'm going to save that for the next show rather than just racing through it, if you don't mind, Cliff, because you put a bit of time into that. So I want to keep a hold of that one. So I'm going to go back to our special guest, Garry Bell from Contender Promotions, and just to reflect a little bit on your promotion career. You've said where you've come from. You've said where you're wanting to head to.
Yeah.
So, what can everybody out there do to help you to achieve your goal of really raising the standards of fight promotion in the UK?
I just think the right people need to be working together.
Yeah.
With myself and other promoters and gyms.
Yeah.
If that can be done, it's job done.
Excellent.
My option.
Before you leave us,
yeah,
I think this is going to be one of my favourite segments ever on PEEP. So rather than just leaving it completely, I'm not going to race through it, but I am going to start the ball rolling with it. Now this might happen over 10 shows, it might happen over 2. I think it's going to be 2. But I want to throw one of these in. Now, and I want to talk to Garry a little bit about the first one. Okay? So we're only going to go do one tonight. Most memorable crossover fights in history. Life imitates art. So what we're discussing here is when different fighters from different styles and disciplines have come together to meet each other at the highest level. Now these could be both fictional and real. Not fictional from our imaginations, but fictional, i.e. on screen. Or actual combat. Now, we're not talking about early UFC where it was style against style. We're talking about kind of what we talked about before, brand against brand, personality against personality, as much as style against style.
Like Batman versus Superman.
Exactly. What did you think of that movie?
I liked it. I liked Justice League. I liked Wonder Woman. I liked the way they all linked together.
Really? Right. Okay, well, just a quick segue into, we're just going to move on to this. Well, you see, for me, what did you think of Man of Steel?
Superman, he's awesome.
Not Superman, but the film Man of Steel.
Oh, the Man of Steel? No, not so good.
No.
Not Man of Steel, no.
Right, now we're starting to be on the same wavelength. Why didn't you enjoy the film?
I just didn't think it done like Superman any justice. Like it was, I don't know, it just wasn't.
No, say it, please do.
The budget wasn't there, was it? I don't know. Or the writers didn't get it right. Just didn't get it right, did they?
The character of Superman.
I
completely agree with that. Yeah. I'm a big fan personally. I think Henry Cavill's fantastically cast as Superman. But when I went to go and see Man of Steel, for me, they subverted the character of what Superman is. Superman is about truth, justice, whether it's the American way and trying to do what's right and hope and belief and all these types of things. And Batman versus Superman, I actually enjoyed it on repeat viewing. I enjoyed it more on DVD. I still watch DVDs. Do you still watch DVDs, Garry? You're a streaming man. Both. At the cinema, not so much because, again, I felt they'd really subverted the character of Superman. They tried to make Superman dark, and he isn't. But I did enjoy it on repeated viewing. Justice League I haven't seen yet, but for me, from what I understand, they realised they've kind of made a mess of it and tried to turn it around to being what it should have been in the first place. I mean, no spoilers on Justice League, but have they got the character the same, other than he goes dark? I know that. After that, have they brought him back to being what he should have, in my opinion, been originally, the character?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. It's good, but you're not supposed to know the Superman's alive, are you?
Well, I think to be quite honest, no, I think most people know, because I'm sure he was on the poster. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? If you throw him up on the poster, then you pretty much know he's going to be.
He was dead.
Well, he was, but let's be honest, they kind of killed that at the end of the last movie because they showed all the things moving anyway.
But they do link together.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Wonder Woman?
I think I have to say that I thought that was. I mean, I think DC are completely misstepping each time, but Wonder Woman is one of the best superhero films I've ever seen. I thought it was fantastic.
They do link together, all of them at the end when you see it. But I liked it. Even my wife liked Justice League, and she hates films like that.
Right. I haven't seen Justice League. I missed it at the cinema because it had a short run because it lost quite a bit. It didn't make a lot as much money as I thought it would.
I'd watch it again. I liked it.
Yeah, because we actually had a section on superhero mythology, and we're talking a little bit about how it's basically representing classic hero archetypes, which especially males kind of really respond to. I just feel with DC they're playing a little bit of catch up with Marvel, but interesting. So yeah, you enjoy. So you like Superman? Is your favourite?
Yeah, Superman's the man, isn't he?
Well, he is. He's kind of the hero, isn't he?
He's the main hero. Because when they've done the Superman versus Batman, and Batman sort of won, but
he always does though in the books. I don't know if you're into. Because I was in the books. No, I still read some of the books nowadays, but he does tend to win.
Batman can't fight Superman in real if they were real.
Well, the thing is, he always finds a way to win. It's what they call prep time. The fans call prep time. Coming back onto this, I want to just start this off because this is going to be. I mean, me and Cliff, my partner in crime and the CEO, director, creator of PEEP magazine. I want to expand this, but we're going to talk the first one. Here's one, number 10. So crossover fights in history. We're going to finish on this. In 10, we have BUTTERBEAN versus. Sorry, yes, it is BUTTERBEAN versus Genki Sudo. That's not a fight that I watched. I don't know what the rule set was. I imagine it was an open rule set with BUTTERBEAN with his gloves on and Genki Sudo potentially throwing kicks as well. Is that a crossover you watched or anything about?
I've seen BUTTERBEAN crossover. He's done MMA. I think
yes, he has.
I don't recognise the name of
Genki Sudo.
Did he go to the floor? If this was the fight that Went to the floor. Yeah, I'd seen that.
Do you want to
got a kick in the head.
Right. So Butterbean came out. Was he gloved? MMA gloved or boxing gloved?
I think it was.
Live of gentlemen, is he? Let's be honest.
He was just on his back, I think.
Yeah,
around like a beetle.
How did you? I mean, so Genki Soto, did he win in the first round? Or
I can't remember too much because I don't know if it's the actual fight that I'd seen.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
If it is the guy that I thought, it didn't last very long. I don't think.
Right. What's your feelings on? So that's then 10, number 10. I'm going to go up to 1. I'm going to do one more. I'm going to do number 9 as well. Royce Gracie versus Art Jimmerson, which was in the first UFC back in, are we 80s or 90s? It's early 90s, isn't it, for the first UFC? Yeah. It could have been late 80s, you know. No, I think it was early 90s. Now, I remember Art Jimmerson, he came in with the famous One Glove episode. Art Jimmerson had potentially had a fight against, I think it couldn't have been Sugar Ray Leonard, because that would have been made at the 80s. Who was he? Well, he potentially had a big fight against a middleweight, and he didn't want to risk getting injured. So he figured that if he only had one glove on, this is a story I read, that they'd see him tapping easier if he ended up getting taken to the ground by Royce Gracie. Yeah. Royce Gracie, I apologise, won that, I believe, in the first round. I'm not sure if it was an armbar. I think it may have been an armbar. What was your feelings on that fight, Gary?
It's hard, isn't it, when two people are coming up with different styles?
Yeah, style against style, wasn't it?
Style, yeah.
That was before anybody even really knew about the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, even though the Challenge Gracie fights have been going on for a long time in Brazil.
I think it's hard because if you've got no ground game at all, and you've got no even having a defence against the ground game of trying to stop that person to take you down, then if you're a good striker, then you've got a really good chance, because if the ground guy is not strong with his stand-up, but it's one of them, isn't it? It is a 50-50 fight, really.
Yeah, I mean,
either way you look at it.
It's kind of going back a little bit, just touching on when we talk about Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. It's, Mayweather's coming in with he wouldn't come in with no knowledge, whereas I imagine Art Jimmerson had probably never even seen. I would put my money on he'd never even seen any kind of jiu-jitsu.
It'll have been alien,
and maybe the only wrestling he'd seen had been on TV, like fun wrestling. So when I'm saying fun, I do respect professional wrestlers as athletes. Whereas Mayweather would be going in with some kind of understanding, at least, even if not training. So it's interesting.
Floyd Mayweather, I mean, he's going to have the best training, isn't he? But even with that best training,
well, we saw that with. No spoilers, but we saw that with one of my favourite fighters, James Toney, when he fought your man.
And the same,
your man, what was he called? He fought Randy Couture. And Couture he said from day one, I'm not going to box him, I'm going to take him down. But that's for a later date. So, but I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's two very, very different sports, isn't it? Jiu-jitsu and boxing are completely different sports. Professional boxing is what professional boxing does.
If you're gonna cross over as a martial artist or as a combat sports practitioner, whatever you want to call it, you need to at least have some sort of defence, whether you're a striker against a striker, or some sort of defence of stopping someone taking you down to the ground, or actually defence of trying to get back up. Because if you don't, then the fight's only going to go one way. If Conor McGregor fights Floyd Mayweather, with all the best trainers you can give him, he's not going to win, in my opinion. There's no chance. Let's be honest, he's not going to knock him out. He couldn't knock him out in the boxing. Well, he did, but not early on. I'm on about over the rounds now.
Yeah, wearing him down.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
No,
not when there's kicks and elbows and knees involved in it. He's just going to.
I agree.
It won't go around.
Right, we're going to bring things to a close tonight. Yeah, go. Go.
Dave will actually ask 2 questions.
Right, okay.
And then I only said
part
of the first one.
Go for it.
I think the first bit was, does Gary think there is a different view of kickboxing by the general public in the UK? Already answered that, didn't
Yeah.
But the second part of the question was, for example, in Europe and other countries. For example, a lot of the lesser known European shows in Bosnia, Russia, Serbia, France, etc. attract massive fans of 4,000 to 5,000 fans.
Yeah.
What is the difference here?
What's the difference here?
So essentially, in Europe, there's a greater fan base and more fans are coming to watch shows, whereas over here, not so much. Why is that?
Why is that, Garry?
Well, I don't follow football as that much. I don't know players and stuff, but maybe football might have something to do with it. Have they got good football teams over Bosnia? Have they?
I don't think so.
I don't.
There's one a good point, because kickboxing is probably a bigger sport than football there.
Yeah.
For one, I don't know. That's probably what I would say. I just think it's obviously it is a bigger sport there, isn't it? But in most European countries, it is. You know what I mean? It is.
Certainly, football's got
It's
a...
kind of like in the States, they've got the Super Bowl, and that's the like main sport.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, it's in Canada, it's ice hockey, and you know, it's that's it. I mean, I think each country reflects its kind of its heritage-based sport, and that's the sport that's likely to garner the most attention. Gary, do you have anything you want to add just as we're about to close the show?
Just a couple of shout-outs.
Go for it.
So I just want to say tickets for Contender Promotions, next event, the 31st of March, www.contenderpromotions.com or .uk. You can go to our Facebook pages, Contender Promotions, or Instagram page, Contender Promotions. All the ticket links are on there with all the matchups. Just want to give a few shout out to my sponsors, Classic Inn Company, Ricky Barlett, Luxury Sofa and Services. Who else is there? Ultimate Disco Solutions, Simon, number one man. I want to give out shout out to my staff, Mick, Vicky, my wife Hannah, Maggie, Simon again. So I just want to tell everyone to buy tickets, because it's going to be an awesome show as well, Contender. It's going to be the best one we've done. I always try and better every single time, so you won't be disappointed. It'll be worth the money. So ask anyone who's been to a Contender event, they'll tell you I don't cut any corners. Cliff's been to my events and other events, so we really don't cut any corners when we put the shows on. So and just everyone get behind the fighters, and everyone get behind the sport a bit more, so it means a lot, your family and friends coming to fights.
Of course.
You can also tell when he puts his shows on, you can also tell he puts a lot of time, a lot of effort. The passion is in there, you can see it, you know what I mean?
Well, it comes back to what we said. I mean, let's finish on this. We come back to what we said, at the start. Passion and tenacity. Yeah. Those two things go hand in hand. If you're passionate about something, you're much more likely to continue, and you'll continue because you're passionate. Yeah. Gary, lovely to meet you.
Thanks,
We'll keep in touch.
I better say hello to Kai and Daisy, because I know you're going to be watching, and you'll be going crazy if I haven't said that when I come in. But good to meet you, because it's the first time I've ever met.
Kai and Daisy?
Kai and Daisy, yeah.
Kai and Daisy. Thanks for watching, Kai and Daisy, but I hope you're not up. It's 8:15. Take care. Yeah. So, we're closing the show. Peep Live episode number 6. Episode 7 will be coming back to you very soon. Stay in touch. We're going to continue our Life Imitates Art. More combat news for you. We'll be having more of the PEEP EXCESS. We've talked about going to Annex to do some filming at the new Super Gym, so keep an eye on that section. Absolutely pleasure to get Gary onto the show tonight, to talk with us. Absolute gentleman. Thank you very much for bringing us that kind gift. Say thank you to Mr. Cliff Sainsbury for keeping things together, keeping things running. I don't know if many people know this, but Cliff also has, as you can tell with his name, prominent shares in Sainsbury's. So he brings some of that clout onto the as you can see you can genuinely see the show productions is second to none, and I do mean that genuinely. Fantastic to be in the studio. Hope you enjoy your night. Hope you enjoyed the show. Peep Live. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Oosh.
We'll be back. Oh, of course, yeah. Brilliant, thank you. I'm going to put that up in the studio.
Yeah, that's going to go up now. Yeah, that's